Public Servants Association has called on an urgent meeting between the public sector union and management of the Government Employee Pension Fund. This is to discuss the Public Investment Corporation's alleged involvement in the funding of the acquisition of a 51% stake in South African Airways by the Takatso Consortium. The PIC denied involvement in the deal, but the PSA, whose members are one of the main contributors to the Government Employee Pension Fund, say it's not convinced. For more on this, I'm joined by the PSA's spokesperson, Ruben Maleka. Ruben, good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight here on In Focus. Again, the PIC emphatically saying we are not funding the SAA deal. What is it about that statement that you don't believe?
Thank you, Tabo, and good evening to the viewers at home. Look, there's no smoke without fire. But we don't want to jump the gun. All what we want is that the GPF management must come to the PSCBC on Tuesday and give us hard facts of and dispel these rumors. And in fact, if they come there, we want them to be, frank with us and tell us exactly whether yes or no the PIC is funding SAA deal, and if it's funding SAA deal, how did they arrive to such a decision, and what motivates such a decision, given that we know the history of SAA, and we cannot, at this point in time, while we know that PIC is yet to implement the Mpati Commission outcomes, and already they move forward to invest into SAA that has on several occasions vanished the public servants' money that are held by PIC. We cannot afford to sponsor and give money to SAA that has failed dismally in many times. Therefore, we want the GPF to come face to face with us on Tuesday and give us the real facts of what is happening with the alleged deal that PIC is funding the 51% of Takatso into SAA.
What are your major questions or some of the things that stick out for you? For example, the whole question of the PIC owning 30% of Harith has come to the spotlight, but the PIC says, no, what we own at Harith has got nothing to do with the Takatso Consortium. I mean, is there transparency and clarity on what that actually entails?
Exactly our point is PSA. In fact, if you know, Tabo, last year we wrote an email through our legal representatives to GPF asking them that they must give a commitment that in future they would make investment that are having returns in terms of investment, and that the government pension money, our monies, will be invested where it's viable and it's not going to be influenced by who is the owner, perhaps funding politicians or high-profile people in the country or even business people. Because we as public servants, we have actually for years been asking that PIC must be able to fund us to access housing. And from time to time, we hear about the rules from GPF and PIC that are not, allowing us to access funding of our monies. So it cannot be easy going forward that we find that those with power can easily access our monies and utilize them and not even find any return investment of such monies. But Tabo, our main other concern is that, it's more than a year we've been asking the Minister of Finance. He has requested our delegate to submit, the CVs, the qualifications. They've gone through the process, but strangely, he has not been able to appoint any of our delegates into the PIC board. Why? Because the PIC Amendment Act allows appointment of the depositors, which are trade unions, into the board. But that is not happening. And therefore, we suspect that it's deliberate to find this kind of deals going through without being detected by us as depositors.
So let me understand what you're saying then, Ruben. As the PSA, you're saying you wouldn't support a takeover of South African Airways that included the pension fund scheme, but would you support a takeover of South African Airways that was purely privately funded?
Look, the form in which SAA should be taken, whether private or public, should be in a fair and transparent manner, and in a manner that would ultimately bring investment. Because in the whole deal, you can hear the allegations. We own this, we don't own that. So we want transparency and we want assurance that any money that will be used, whether it's private or public, should at least be showing us, especially when you talk about public servants' money, there must be assurance that our money are not going to go there and are not going to come back. Because we have an experience about billions of rands of public servants' money going into these SOEs and never returned. So it's time that we as public servants are involved and we know exactly what is happening with our monies.
So you're clear then on what you want to come out of this meeting, and if that doesn't come out, how would you know you didn't get what you were looking for?
Definitely, that's why we will say we want transparency, and obviously if we find in any way that indeed such deal is going on and there's no transparency, we are ready. We've got our legal representative ready. As I stated, they already wrote a letter to the GPF last year. We'll have to continue to litigate and try to show that board members who are sitting in boards and are not taking their due diligence in what they are doing, we'll have to hold them accountable individually and liably as individuals, other than as board of directors. Because sometimes we know that most of the board of directors have insurance that assure them that in any decision that they can make, they can be protected and can be assisted in terms of paying liabilities. But at this point in time, would go specifically to court and request that individual be held accountable, because it cannot be true that we have incompetent board members or who are deliberate to come to certain decisions that are not rational and are left to be supported or be protected by the insurance that they hold in terms of their company's profile or company's directorship. So it must be clear that the time has come that directors who are holding positions in most of these organizations who makes decisions that are rational must be held accountable and must be accountable as individuals.
Ruben Malika, appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us tonight on In Focus. The PSA spokesperson there, Ruben Malika, going to that meeting very clear on what they want to come out of those deliberations.